कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जाए,
जय
वृंदावन धाम की जाए,
जय
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जाए,
जय
गंगा माई की जाए,
जय
जमुना माई की जाए,
जय
तुलसी देवी की जाए,
जय
भक्ति देवी की जाए,
जय
संभवेता भक्त वृंद की जाए,
जय
गौर प्रेम आनंदे.
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
हरे
Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari.
हरि बोल।
Pad Nama Om. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Do you know why in the second line, the last word in the second line is capitalized, but in the first line it's not? Any
Patma,
idea?
The capital is definitely for, like, it's a pronoun, but for Krishna.
So why would it be not that there, but not in the first line?
The first line is probably a verb or an adverb or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'd be willing to bet money it's a typo.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Acharya Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
We're reading Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 3. Lord Chaitanya's stay at the house of Advaita Acharya. Text number 71.
আচার্য কহে, ছাড়ো তুমি আপনার চুরি, আমি সব জানি তোমার সন্ন্যাসের ভারী ভুরি।
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not accept the food that had already been served, Advaita Acharya said, "Please give up your concealment. I know what you are, and I know the confidential meaning of your accepting the sannyas order."
ভোজন করহ, ছাড়ো বচন চাতুরি, প্রভু কহে, এত অন্ন খাইতে না পারি।
Advaita Acharya thus requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to eat and give up juggling words. The Lord replied, "I certainly cannot eat so much food."
আচার্য বলে, অকপটে করহ আহার, যদি খাইতে না পারো পাতে রহিবেক আর।
Advaita Acharya then requested the Lord to simply accept the prasadam without pretense. If he could not eat it all, the balance could be left on the plate.
প্রভু বলে, এত অন্ন নারিব খাইতে, সন্ন্যাসীর ধর্ম নহে উচ্ছিষ্ট রাখিতে।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I will not be able to eat so much food, and it is not the duty of a sannyasi to leave remnants." Purport. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 11:18-19, Bahir Jalashayam Gatva Tatopaspishya Vagyata Vibhajya Pavitam Shesham Bhunjita Shesham Ahritam. Whatever edibles a sannyasi gets from a householder's house, he should take outside near some lake or river, and after offering the food to Vishnu, Brahma, and the sun, 3 divisions, he should eat the entire offering and not leave anything for others to eat. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask permission from all devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness. So this statement by Caitanya Mahaprabhu, which is in the purport, supported by a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, gives a description about the duties of sannyas dharma, that a sannyasi is not supposed to be leaving remnants of food for others to take. When Lord Caitanya is saying this, because Advaita Acharya is encouraging him to take lots of prasadam on his plate, and if he's leftovers, then that's okay. There can be remnants. And perhaps, although it's not said, the remnants of that food could be taken by others. So this seems to be controversial or inconsistent with some of the practices that take place in ISKCON, or even if you go back to the first history we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni, as a young boy in his previous life, accepted the remnants of foodstuff by the great Bhaktivedantas, and by doing so, he was purified of all sinful reactions. So it seems perhaps inconsistent with this statement by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how would you make sense of this? Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. It's interesting. I think at this time it is only a conversation, but what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does, that is more important. What he sets the example. I'm curious to see what example he set. And this sannyas rules may be applicable for the 4 ashramas, the sannyas in varnashrama system. I'm just thinking that more important is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to teach by his example later, I think.
Okay, so you say wait and see, and perhaps this is a varnashram instruction which may not apply to in other situations. Okay.
Yeah.
Other views, learned views.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, not
Yeah,
learned
Mother Shobharadhe,
and
please.
just a thought. Just like in the Guru Vastakam it said, the Guru does not think himself as God, but we should, as disciples, think of him as God. Like that, sannyasi does not think he should give his remnants. but we should want to take those remnants like Narad Muni did. So as a sannyasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not saying, here, I'll give my remnants to all these lowly people. But we should think of ourselves as low and take the remnants.
Okay.
That's a thought.
That's a thought, sure. Acharya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I have a little slightly different angle on it, I guess. Although I'm in favor of sannyasis taking the humble position and not, the foot bathing and the remnants and all this thing. I think taking the humble position is always safe, but that's not the point I wanted to make. I wouldn't say the original meaning of the verse, but the understanding of that Bhagavatam verse that's referenced is actually that you don't leave any remnants, because the idea is that you don't want to save food for later. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's using it in a different way, meaning don't leave remnants for others to take. But like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the original Sanskrit is actually don't leave remnants, because you're not supposed to save food for later. In other words, you're not supposed to make plans for your future. You just depend on what comes.
Okay, good. So different points of view. Sure. Thank you. Any others? Well, I also agree with all those points. In addition, as Krishna Kirtan Prabhu said, that sannyas is really part of the varnashram system, and generally they're looked at as the spiritual preceptors of the other ashrams: brahmachari ashram, grihastha ashram, vanapashta ashram. But also in the sannyas ashram, there are 4 stages: kuti chak, bahudak, parivrajak acharya, and paramahamsa. So the first stages are still beginning stages. Kuti chak means the person, after taking sannyas, leaves the home and stays outside in a hut and engages in spiritual activities alone or with an assistant, and their food is brought to them. Then the second stage, bahudak, the sannyasi doesn't stay put, but travels here and there, usually within the town and the village, begging door to door for whatever food stuff the householders might give, and in in return, the bahudak sannyasi will enlighten the householder in spiritual life if they are willing to be enlightened. And then the third stage, parivrajak acharya. Parivrajak means they're going everywhere. They're giving up their concern about any food, how they're going to maintain themselves, their safety, and going everywhere, and depending exclusively on Krishna, preaching everywhere they go. And in the story of Narad Muni, that was he's even though he was a young child, after his mother passed away, he traveled extensively, and Prabhupada related it to that stage of Parivrajak Acharya. And then Paramahamsa, the Paramahamsa stage means the person is a topmost swan-like devotee. They're fully realized and always remembering Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engaging in his devotional service at all times. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So for gurus or spiritual masters, it's best if the guru or the spiritual master is in the Paramahamsa stage. And in the Paramahamsa stage, these details of descriptions and rules may not always be followed. Does that make sense? And so those Bhaktivedantas that were there in the home of Narad Muni's in his previous life's mom, they were Bhaktivedantas and Paramahamsas. So anybody who takes the remnants of that food, it's called Maha Prasadam. But sannyasis on a lower stage, no, we don't. It's not recommended. In fact, other Vedic literature say that to eat the remnants of someone's food is considered in eating food in the tabogun. We're not talking either veg or non-veg. So that's another angle of this. So ordinarily, for people still on the material platform, one should not take the remnants of their food. But for someone who's a elevated, really elevated devotee, and Lord Caitanya is not, as Acharya Prabhu is saying, is not posing as a very elevated person, although Advaita Acharya said, I know who you are. I know who you are. Not only are you the most elevated sannyasi, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this stricture in the Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't apply to you. Does that make sense? Yes or no? All right. Okay. Some people say yes, some people don't. All right.
There's a statement also called example is better than precepts.
Yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching in this pastime with his example.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So in ISKCON, if somebody is a sannyasi, then they, depending on their level of understanding, they may not want to give remnants of the food. But someone who's a fully advanced person or the spiritual master, especially the disciples, can appreciate that the remnants of the spiritual master's food. So Srila Prabhupada, he would allow devotees to take the remnants of his food regularly. In fact, I think we mentioned last time that he would often take just some portion of the food that was offered to him and then tell his servant to distribute the rest, and sometimes by mixing it all together into one merge. But that still was Mahaprasad. Acharya Prabhu.
Also, I think it's is this chapter 3 that
Yes.
we're on now? Yeah, so I think it's actually coming up in an upcoming purport where Prabhupada talks about Maha Prasad.
Yeah. So all sannyasis may not be Mahaprasad, right? Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
but I guess at least the principle is there. And like Prabhupada would say about so many things, it takes a little intelligence to
Yes.
understand and apply
Yes.
these things.
Yes. So what does that mean? Go ahead.
Sorry, Prabhu. I'm just thinking, like Narad Muni, taste the prasadam as the sadhu. He became a devotee. What will you say about this?
Yes. But not any devotee. I mean, if I leave my remnants, no. But any devotee, but they were great Bhaktivedantas, and that was emphasized, or in other words, they were really Paramahamsas on that transcendental stage. So any food stuff that they partake in that's been offered, that's especially potent, but not just anybody. Does that make sense?
I know they're all like great devotees. How do you judge? How do you count that whose remnant you have to take among the sannyasis?
Yeah, as Acharya Prabhu said, that takes a little intelligence. We there have been sannyasis in ISKCON who have been appreciated or at least thought to be on a very high stage, but then we find out that wasn't true. So, and many of them gave remnants. So what was the result of those taking those remnants? I don't know, but it may not be auspicious. Do you follow? That makes sense?
Yeah, I remember I used to take remnant of somebody who has fallen afterwards.
Yeah. So anyway, one should be cautious. I mean, there was a devotee, and I'm not saying this is what's the case in this. There was a devotee in the New York temple, and of course, after the feast, many of the guests wouldn't take their full plate of prasadam, and they'd have remnants. You follow? So because it's prasadam, we don't want to just throw it away in the garbage because it's Krishna's prasadam. So we used to have a special. Many temples would have a special sacred throw out where we'd submerge it in the ocean. In a special, we give a special bathing for that prasadam. Anyway, that was our practice then. But there was one devotee who thought, well, I will actually take the remnants of all the food that's left over. So he would stand by the garbage can and take the plates of people who were going to throw away and he would eat their remnants, even the guests. And what happened with him was he went crazy. I had to bring him to Bellevue Hospital as a psychiatric ward. And so then the devotees wrote Srila Prabhupada, what should be done? What is this a good thing to do, to eat the remnants of, because it's prasadam? Prabhupada said, he said, not for devotees on a regular platform. No. It will not be beneficial for you. Even though prasadam itself is never contaminated, it depends on one's level of advancement and also faith. So that was just a practical result. So then we made sure after that the remnants of guests was dealt with in an appropriate way. And and of course the sannyasi is not a guest, but still the principle, you understand. Acharya Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep on butting in here, and I don't want
No,
to
it's fine. We like
unnecessarily
this. I
extend
like
this.
this.
But as you were speaking, I was thinking about this, that you know, our guru or sannyasi, we get the remnants, think, oh, this is tasty, or oh, he left half a samosa, but it's actually like eating someone's remnants, even leaving aside the question of sense gratification, is actually a really super heavy, karmic and spiritual thing. To take someone's remnants, there's all sorts of karmic aspects and obligations, and it's actually spiritually a super heavy thing. So whether it's done or not, it's not something to be, lightly or casually. It's actually really an intense thing to actually take someone's remnants.
Yes, thank you. Good point. Very good point. I was just reading in one of the memory books when Srila Prabhupada went to Mexico, 1975, they gave him some bread that was store-bought, some kind of health food bread. And anyway, apparently they didn't tell Prabhupada it was from the store. And then he had nightmares, according to the nightmare. And he said the next day, no, please don't give me grains that are cooked by materialists, because that will disturb my consciousness. And isn't it interesting? So that's just being cooked by, what to speak of eating from the remnants. Interesting. Okay,
Hare Krishna, can I ask one question, please?
you may.
What makes remnants so spiritually potent, either positively or negatively? Like what about it is so good or bad? I don't really understand.
Well, when we offer food, bhog, to Krishna's glance transforms that, and Krishna's tasting it, transforms it into spiritual substance. So any Vaishnava, they like here in this point, in this purport, always the food is offered first to Krishna. So it's already spiritually potent, and then the touch of the devotee is transferred to you also. There's a nice verse about Srimati Tulsi Devi. Yanko darashe parashe aghanashai. Just by your touching the devotee, which is Tulsi Devi in this case, one becomes free from sinful reaction. So that's like it's in grade school. Did you? I don't know if this might have been a thing in the 60s or something. There was something called cooties.
Yeah.
You remember cooties?
Yeah.
This is probably not in India. So it's just by your touch, there's the ideas that you're going to get contaminated by somebody just by that. So in the same, it's a reverse thing. It's a reverse thing. Just by their touch, they have the potency to purify. The touch of Krishna and the touch of the pure devotee are very powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like there's like an unseen energy that's in the food.
Yes.
And it's enhanced based on who's taken it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Text 75.
আচার্য বলে নীলাচলে খাও 54 বার, একবারে অন্ন খাও শত শত ভার.
In this connection, Advaita Acharya referred to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating at Jagannath Puri. Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are identical. Advaita Acharya pointed out that at Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate 54 times a day. And each time he ate many hundreds of pots of food.
তিনজনার ভক্ষ্যপিণ্ড তোমার এক গ্রাস, তার লেখায় এই অন্ন নহে পঞ্চগ্রাস.
Sri Advaita Acharya said, the amount of food that 3 people can eat does not constitute even a morsel for you. In proportion to that, these edibles are not even 5 morsels of food for you.
মোর ভাগ্যে মোর ঘরে তোমার আগমন, ছাড়হ চাতুরি প্রভু করহ ভোজন.
Advaita Acharya continued, by my great fortune, you have just come to my home. Please do not juggle words. Just begin eating and do not talk.
এত বলি জল দিল 2 গোসাইর হাতে, হাসিয়া লাগিলা দুহে ভোজন করিতে.
Upon saying this, Advaita Acharya supplied water to the 2 lords so that they could wash their hands. The 2 lords then sat down and smiling began to eat the prasadam. So when is offered, when there's deity worship, prior to the offering of the foodstuff, there's a little ritual where you offer water for washing hands, just like this.
নিত্যানন্দ কহে কইলুম 3 উপবাস, আজি পারো না করিতে ছিল বড় আশ.
Nityananda Prabhu said, I have undergone fasting for 3 days continuously, and today I had hoped to break my fast. So apparently, as Lord Chaitanya was fasting, Nityananda Prabhu was also fasting right after the sannyas ceremony.
I wanted to comment the previous one.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that is the Vedic culture that you wash your hands, mouth, and sometimes feet also before you honor prasadam.
And after as well.
Yeah, after as well, of course. Yeah. So this has been all that time we have observed in ordinary course. People also wash their hand and mouth And now also, yeah.
Yes, it's just standard practice. So, deity worship, archana is Krishna is really there, and in order to serve him nicely, should at least treat him at least that well. Of course, the water that you offer might be scented or special, but at least the same courtesy that to help him wash his hands or to allow him to wash his hands.
We
before
always say before offering prasadam to deities, hasto prakshalayami, pado prakshalayami. We always say that.
Yes.
That means your hands, wash your hands and then wash your feet.
Yes, and actually
And then
bring water there.
afterwards also.
Yes. That's part of the archana process. Yeah.
This is practiced even by ordinary people also.
Yeah.
Washing, because we eat with hands.
Yeah, we tell them that.
Wash your hand before you eat anything. Like that.
Yeah. So in temples, it's sometimes arranged that people can wash their hands and feet easily, before and after taking prasadam. It's nice that if there's a arrangement that can be done easily. Sometimes it's very difficult you have to go up down some stairs or whatever to wash your hands and feet, mouth, hands and feet. So what happens is people don't do it. It happens in some temples like that. You follow?
Yeah, because of the culture, because of the time, place. But at homes, I think this culture, mostly everyone washes their hand before they eat.
And after.
After, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even more important at the temple, because if you go in to the temple room without doing so, then anyway, those things.
Thank you.
আজি উপবাস হইল আচার্য নিমন্ত্রণে, অর্ধপেট না ভরিবে এই গ্রাসিক অন্নে.
Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking that the quantity of food was enormous, Nityananda Prabhu, on the contrary, thought it not even a morsel. He had been fasting for 3 days and greatly hoped to break fast on that day. Indeed, he thought, although I'm invited to eat by Advaita Acharya, today also is a fast. So small a quantity of food will not even fill even half my belly.
আচার্য কহে, তুমি হও তৈর্থিক সন্ন্যাসী, কবু ফল মূল খাও, কবু উপবাসী.
Advaita Acharya replied, Sir, you are a mendicant, traveling on pilgrimage. Sometimes you eat fruits and roots, and sometimes you simply go on fasting.
দরিদ্র ব্রাহ্মণ ঘরে যে পাইলা মুষ্টেক অন্ন, ইহাতে সন্তুষ্ট হও, ছাড়ো লোভ মন.
I am a poor Brahmin, Daridra Brahmin, and you have come to my home. Please be satisfied with whatever little food you have received and give up your greedy mentality.
নিত্যানন্দ বলে, যবে কইলে নিমন্ত্রণ, তত দিতে চাহ, যত করিয়ে ভোজন.
Lord Nityananda Prabhu replied, whatever I may be, you have invited me. Therefore, you must supply as much as I want to eat.
শুনি নিত্যানন্দের কথা ঠাকুর অদ্বৈত কহেন তাহারে কিছু পাইয়া পীড়িত.
His Divine Grace, Advaita Acharya, after hearing the statement of Nityananda Prabhu, took the opportunity presented by the joking words and spoke to him as follows.
Why it was particularly used here, His Divine Grace, Advaita Acharya?
I don't know. Emphasizing his transcendental status. We'll talk about it later when there's next purport, if you don't mind.
ভ্রষ্ট অবধূত তুমি, উদর ভরিতে সন্ন্যাস লইয়াছ বুঝি ব্রাহ্মণ দণ্ডিতে.
Advaita Acharya said, you are a reject Paramahamsa, and you have accepted the renounced order of life just to fill up your belly. I can understand that your business is to give trouble to the Brahmins. Purport. There is always a difference of opinion between a Smarta Brahmin and a Vaishnav Goswami. There are even Smarta opinions and Vaishnav Goswami opinions available in astrological and astronomical calculations. By calling Nityananda Prabhu a Brashta Avadhut, a rejected Paramahamsa, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, in a sense, accepted Nityananda Prabhu as a Paramahamsa. In other words, Nityananda Prabhu had nothing to do with the rules governing Smarta Brahmanas. Thus, under pretense of condemning him, Advaita Acharya was actually praising him. In the Avadhut stage, the Paramahamsa stage, which is the supermost stage, one may appear to be a Bishayi on the platform of sense gratification, but in actuality, he has nothing to do with sense gratification. At that stage, a person sometimes accepts the symbols and dress of a sannyasi and sometimes does not. Sometimes he dresses like a householder. We should know, however, that these are all joking words between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. They are not to be taken as insults. In Kadadaha, sometimes people misunderstood Nityananda Prabhu to belong to the Shakta Sampradaya, whose philosophy is Anta Shakta Bahi Shaiva Shabhya Vaishnava Matha. According to the Shakta Sampradaya, a person called Kolavadhuta thinks materially while externally appearing to be a great devotee of Lord Shiva. When such a person is in an assembly of Vaishnavas, he appears like a Vaishnava. Actually, Nityananda Prabhu did not belong to such a community. Nityananda Prabhu was always a brahmachari of a sannyasi of the Vedic order. Actually, he was a Paramahamsa. Sometimes he is accepted to be a disciple of Lakshmipati Tirtha. If he is so accepted, Nityananda Prabhu belonged to the Madhya Sampradaya. He did not belong to the Tantric Sampradaya of Bengal. Very interesting points. So this is these interactions between Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, Srila Advaita Acharya. Prabhupada focuses that they're joking and not insults. So we find that in the pastimes of Krishna and the Krishna consciousness, there is joking going on. It's everything we have in the material world is there in the spiritual world, but it's in pure condition. In the material world, sometimes I know I often work with kids in psychology, and it's not unusual that family members or kids in school will do a mock fight, they'll play that like fighting. And you know what often happens? I guess
into real fight.
Yeah, very often it degrades into a real fight of blows. Because why is that? Because the individual are still, even though it may start out as joking, they're on the material platform. There's three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And so the passion or the goodness will degrade into ignorance at the drop of a hat. So, but this joking between Nityananda Prabhu and Srila Advaita Acharya is completely on the transcendental platform. Srila Prabhupada compared it to, in the Nectar Devotion, there's a chapter called Laughing Ecstasy. There's different primary rasas, neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental ras, and conjugal love. And there's also indirect secondary rasas like chivalry, and one of them is adbhuta, wonder, and one of them is laughing, joking. So Srila Prabhupada gave the example of there's a famous jester in Bengal named Gopal Ban. Maybe you've heard of him. It was apparently during the time of Raj Krishna Chandra, a few hundred years ago, after the time of Lord Chaitanya. So the king would have his jester, and part of the duty of the jester was to make the king laugh. So, and the king would try to defeat the jester. So one day, in the morning time, first thing, the king called Gopal Ban and asked, he said, Gopal, what's the difference between you and an ass? So Gopal quickly, measured the distance between he and the king and said, about 3 feet, sir. And then the king laughed. So even though there's some, so he compared that to the joking that's sometimes found on the transcendental level between Krishna and his devotees. So that's something that's going on here. Perhaps you know other transcendental jokes that you've come across in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, there are many.
Are you going to give us a transcendental joke?
Yeah, for Prabhupada, we can do many. It reminds me of you and Jagannath, not Chaitanya Chandra. It reminds me many times. One day you engaged Chaitanya Chandra to, you wanted to make amras from the raw mangoes. Yeah. And you asked, okay, you boil the mangoes and it's okay, prepare it. And at the end, you find that the juice has been taken out and the peels are left. And you found out that the juice has been thrown out and peels are kept. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
So that is one of the funny things I remember when Chaitanya Chandra was engaged. That all the juice pulp has been thrown out after boil, and the peels are left for the fish or for the preparation.
Yeah, I made a comment about that he was on his phone instead of, yeah, I know that. Anyway. So
I have a question here though.
Okay.
It's very confusing, this part. Nityananda Prabhu's position in society, which ashram he has taken. Sometimes he said mendicant. Mendicant is ascetic or mendicant, and renounced a sannyas. What exactly he was? He did not take official sannyas ashram. Am I right?
He never took sannyas, and then he also got married.
Right.
So he was a brahmachari, and mendicant can be a brahmachari or a sannyasi. So he was a brahmachari, and then he got married. He never took sannyas, and he had 2 wives, and from one of the wives there was the son.
And that's the whole thing. Is it mentioned he's renounced? Sometimes renunciation, renounced order of life. Renunciation and renounced order of life are 2 different things. So
yes.
Because when you mention he's a sannyas, then the whole thing confuses, because later he gets married.
He never took sannyas.
Yeah, that I wanted to get clarified that. Thank you.
Yeah. Acharya Prabhu.
A couple of things about laughing, since you brought that up, about joking. A favorite of mine in the Caitanya Caritamrita is when all the Bengali devotees would come to Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra. And I can't remember the name of it, but in Orissa, there's a fruit that's dry, like made into a dried fruit. And for those who know how to eat it, you put it in your mouth and you suck on it to soften and remove the sweet pulp, and then you spit out the seeds. But the Bengali devotees weren't familiar with this fruit, so they started chewing it and crunching it. And if you do that, the seeds are very unpleasant and pungent. And when the Bengali devotees were doing that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was laughing at them because they didn't know how to eat it, and it was supposed to be sweet and delicious, but they were getting the burning sensation from the seeds. He was laughing.
Yeah.
So that's a favorite instance of mine. And also, there was one legal case in ISKCON where ISKCON won the case. I don't remember if it was brainwashing or maybe something about getting into airports. And the devotees won the case. And in the judge's final statement, I don't remember the exact words, but he made some like play on words or some joking words in his official statement supporting the devotees. And Prabhupada appreciated it, and he said, I think he wrote it in a letter, that every intelligent man must have a sense of humor.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I believe that was the New York brainwashing case. Yeah, yeah. 1976, 77. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So let me read. Read the part of the Nectar Devotion that talks about laughing ecstasy. In the fourth division of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has described 7 kinds of indirect ecstasies in devotional service, known as laughing, astonishment, chivalry, compassion, anger, dread, and ghastliness. In this portion, Srila Rupa Goswami further describes these ecstasies of devotional feelings, some being compatible and others incompatible with one another. When one kind of devotional service overlaps with another in a conflicting way, the state of affairs is called rasabhas, or a perverted presentation of mellows. Expert learned scholars say that laughing is generally found among youngsters or in the combination of old persons and young children. This ecstatic, loving laughing is sometimes also found in persons who are very grave by nature. Once, an old mendicant approached the door of Mother Yashoda's house, and Krishna told Yashoda, "My dear mother, I don't wish to go near this skinny villain. If I go there, he might put me within his begging bag and take me away." In this way, the wonderful child Krishna began to look at his mother, while the mendicant who was standing at the door tried to hide his smiling face, although he could not do so. He immediately expressed his smiling. In this instance, Krishna himself is the object of laughing affairs. So here the Krishna himself was, in a sense, insulting the mendicant by calling him a skinny villain, but the skinny villain or the mendicant was laughing as a result. So there's different kinds of examples given about laughing. Hasita, avahasita, apahasita, and ati hasita. Ati hasita is considered a kind of smiling or laughing that comes from sarcastic remarks. So it seems like that's something that might be going on here, although Srila Prabhupada doesn't particularly mention it. But I'll just give one example. It's from the Nectar Devotion. Sometimes there are indirect sarcastic remarks that also create atihasita circumstances. An example of one such remark is a statement which was made by one of the cowherd girls to Kutila, the daughter of Jatila and sister of Abhimanyu, the so-called husband of Radharani. Indirectly, Kutila was insulted by the following statement: "My dear Kutila, daughter of Jatila, your breasts are as long as string beans, simply dry and long. Your nose is so gorgeous that it defies the beauty of the noses of frogs. And your eyes are more beautiful than the eyes of dogs. Your lips defy the flaming cinders of fire, and your abdomen is as beautiful as a big drum. Therefore, my dear Kutila, you are the most beautiful of all the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, and because of your extraordinary beauty, I think you must be beyond the attraction of the sweet blowing of Krishna's flute. And that's the end of the description of laughing ecstasy in the Nectar Devotion chapter. There are other joking pastimes that Srila Prabhupada would sometimes quote. There's I think it's from the Panchatantra, the story of the jackal in the forest who fell into a vat of indigo dye. You know this? So he came out of the vat all blue, and it was something wonderful. So all the animals were wondering, who is this animal? Because they couldn't recognize the jackal as being a jackal anymore because of his blue color. So the jackal said, well, actually, I was sent here by God to rule over you. So the animals, including in Srila Prabhupada's version, including the lion, they installed him on the throne and were following his orders. But then some other jackals nearby started to howl, and the jackal also howled because he was a jackal. So then the animals could understand this is just a lowly jackal, and they got rid of him. So Srila Prabhupada compared that to the claims of material science that we're doing wonderful things, but Prabhupada emphasized that they really, even though material science may make great advancements, they really can't save one from the problems of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are the real problems of life. And so he made that comparison. Hare Krishna. Any other joking experience examples? No. So joking in Krishna consciousness means it's in relation to Krishna, and a glorification of Krishna also. Yeah. All right. Shall we do a couple more verses?
তুমি খেতে পারো 10-20 মানের অন্ন, আমি তাহা কাহা পাবো দরিদ্র ব্রাহ্মণ।
Advaita Acharya accused Nityananda Prabhu saying, you can eat 10 to 20 manas of rice. I am a poor Brahmin. How can I eat so much rice? A mana, purport, a mana is a measurement containing about 40 kilos. So 10 to 20, how many kilos is that?
Close
400, 800 kilos? That's a lot. Each kilo is 2.2 pounds. I know that people from Bengal, they take a lot of rice. Anyway, that's a lot of rice.
যে পায়াছ মুষ্টিক অন্ন, তাহা খায়া উঠো, পাগলামি না করিহ, না ছড়াইও ঝুঠো।
Whatever you have, though it be a palmful of rice, please eat it and get up. Don't show your madness and strew the remnants of food here and there.
এই মতো হাস্যরসে করেন ভোজন, অর্ধ অর্ধ খায়া প্রভু ছাড়েন ব্যঞ্জন।
In this way, Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate and talked with Advaita Acharya jokingly. After eating half of each vegetable preparation given to him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu abandoned it and went on to the next.
সেই ব্যঞ্জন আচার্য পুনঃ করেন পূরণ, এই মতো পুনঃ পুনঃ পরিবেশে ব্যঞ্জন।
As soon as half of the vegetable in the pot was finished, Advaita Acharya filled it up again. In this way, as the Lord finished half of a preparation, Advaita Acharya again and again filled it up.
দোনা ব্যঞ্জনে ভরি করেন প্রার্থন, প্রভু বলেন আর কত করিব ভোজন।
After filling a pot with vegetables, Advaita Acharya requested them to eat more. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "How much more can I go on eating?"
আচার্য কহে, যে দিয়াছি তাহা না ছাড়িবা, এখন যে দিয়ে তার অর্ধেক খাইবা।
Advaita Acharya said, "Please, do not give up whatever I have given you. Now whatever I am giving, you may eat half and leave half."
নানা যত্ন দৈন্যে প্রভুরে করাইল ভোজন, আচার্যের ইচ্ছা প্রভু করিল পূরণ।
In this way, by submitting various humble requests, Advaita Acharya made Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda eat. Thus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fulfilled all the desires of Advaita Acharya.
নিত্যানন্দ কহে, আমার পেট না ভরিল, লয়া যাহ তোর অন্ন কিছু না খাইল।
Again, Nityananda Prabhu jokingly said, "My belly is not yet filled up. Please take away your food. I have not taken the least of it."
এত বলি এক গ্রাস ভাত হাতে লয়া, উঝালি ফেলিল আগে যেন ক্রুদ্ধ হয়া।
After saying this, Nityananda Prabhu took a handful of rice and threw it on the floor in front of him as if he were angry.
ভাত দুই চারি লাগে আচার্যের অঙ্গে, ভাত অঙ্গে লয়া আচার্য নাচে বহু রঙ্গে।
When 2 or 4 of the pieces of thrown rice touched his body, Advaita Acharya began to dance in various ways with the rice still stuck to his body.
অবধূতের ঝুঠা লাগিল মোর অঙ্গে, পরম পবিত্র মোরে কইল এই ঢঙ্গে।
When the rice thrown by Nityananda Prabhu touched his body, Advaita Acharya thought himself purified by the touch of remnants thrown by Paramahansa Nityananda. Therefore, he began dancing. The word avadhuta refers to one above all rules and regulations, sometimes not observing all the rules and regulations of a sannyasi. Nityananda Prabhu exhibited the behavior of a mad avadhut. He threw the remnants of food on the ground, and some of these remnants touched the body of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya accepted this happily because he presented himself as a member of the community of Smarta Brahmins. By touching the remnants of food thrown by Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya immediately felt himself purified of all Smarta contamination. The remnants of food left by a pure Vaishnav are called Maha Prasadam. This is completely spiritual and is identified with Lord Vishnu. Such remnants are not ordinary. The spiritual master is to be considered on the stage of Paramahansa and beyond the jurisdiction of the Varnashram institution. The remnants of the food left by the spiritual master and similar Paramahansas or pure Vaishnavas are purifying. When an ordinary person touches such prasadam, his mind is purified and his mind is raised to the status of a pure Brahman. The behavior and statements of Advaita Acharya are meant for the understanding of ordinary people who are unaware of the strength of spiritual values, not knowing the potency of food left by the bona fide spiritual master and pure Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So this is focusing on the question of Shashi Shekhar Prabhu also. Just so Nityananda Prabhu or Advaita Prabhu are jokingly in exchanging dealings, and Nityananda Prabhu just throwing the rice and that rice just touching the body, not even eating it, is he's becoming purified by that Maha Prasadam. It's getting late here now. Maybe we could talk more about this later. Any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you all. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindhubhyascha
sindhubhyo patitanam
Pavnebhyo
pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everyone.